it's March of 2020 and COVID is here. That's what March of 2020 was, right? Like everyone was like, oh my gosh, there's this crazy thing happening and the world shut down. And the median sales price in March of 2020 in Laverne, California, for all properties, this is just the median sales price, it was $663,500. From March of 2020 until the highest peak was April of 2022, we went from 663 or yeah, let's go back up here. What was it? March of 2020, it was 663,500. We go all the way to April 2022, 995. So if you bought a property between March of 2020 to April of 2022 in Laverne, California, you were looking at a $330,000 gain during that time. Total. That was what the gain was. So we were increasing price point by $100,000 a year. $100,000 a year. And then in February of 2023, we saw a drop to $799,900. So February 2023. What happened then? Interest rates went, oh my goodness. Interest rates are at highs and not as high as interest rates have been in the past. And pricing was forced to adjust. So then from February of 2023, we can look at the summer of 2023, the market jumped right back up to 946,500. And from there, it's been slowly shifting. And so our median sales price in Laverne, California, as of January of 2024 is $856,000. That is where we are at right now. So we are almost in line with January of 2022. It took us 2 years to get our pricing back in order, considered normal, right? Back to what people would think would be maybe reasonable if we didn't have these crazy interest rates that everyone's so concerned with, right? February of 2022, the value was 880. And today, the general value of the Laverne median sales price is $856,000 as of Laverne, January 2024 MLS guidelines, right? That's where we're at right now for median sales price. So going back to pre-COVID, right? So if we're going back to pre-COVID, that number is 663,500. I don't anticipate that we will go that far back to where we were pre-COVID, right? COVID was a doozy for the real estate market, for the economy in general. We have a lot of people who are being impacted still to this day because of the things that happened during COVID, right? And today, again, real estate has adjusted by about 100,000 in the last year and a half with regards to the median sales price in just Laverne. I mean, we're looking at Laverne. If we look at, let's look at Arcadia, California. not far up the street, right? Just let's look at Arcadia and see what Arcadia has done for us. Median sales price, I see our highest, March of 2022, our highest median sales price for all residential properties within the Arcadia city was 1.639998. And today it is 1.42. So we've seen almost a $200,000, $250,000 price adjustment for Arcadia City. Like every neighborhood is hyper local, and you need to be sure. You can't just say, hey, by the way, what's happening? I would like for you to help me. You need to be sure that the agent you hire actually understands the stats, knows how to look at them, and then can help consult you to the right opportunity that makes best sense for you. Over the weekend, I got to meet with a great family. I've known them forever, and they have a multi-unit that they had bought together as a family, right? Their intent was, we're putting our trust in place. We need to get everything all cleaned up for the trust. And it was just complicating facts. The matter of problem was they were just, because they had 3 owners on this one, just complicated things. So they wanted to go ahead and remove one of the owners to simplify the trust, make things just, as I said, simpler, right? So what did they do? They went ahead and decided it was best they remove this other additional person from the title of the property. So we sat down and we had a good long conversation. It was about an hour, and it worked out really well because what we figured out was it was best for them if they went ahead and bought the other family member out. And it would save them almost $50,000 to go that route rather than sell the property, go reinvest in something else, have to do a 1031 exchange. Potentially the other person would have to as well go reinvest. That would end up costing them about $50,000 to make all of that happen. Whereas if they just go and pull some money out of property they had readily available and buy out the other party, they had the money readily available. Well, that would cost them a couple $1,000s as opposed to 50,000. So it was a much better decision for them. So that's the kind of relationship you want to have with whomever you're working with when it comes to buying, selling, and investing in real estate. You need someone that can really talk through all the points and be there for you. That's what our fiduciary duty is to you as an agent, is to put your needs above all else needs. That we are there to help move you forward in your real estate purchase. Right. And so it's one of the reasons why I chose to have this podcast, right? Every week I show up, generally every week I show up and I have these conversations, and all of these conversations are to help move you forward, right? And you should always confirm, defer to someone else that it makes best sense for where you are. Because as you can see, for example, Laverne, California, we've seen $100,000 depreciation, whereas Arcadia, we've seen a $200,000 depreciation. So you want to be sure that wherever you're at, you're having that conversation with someone who understands the trends of the market for where you're buying, selling, and investing. And they understand the legalities and the ins and outs of it as well, right? Because everywhere will be different. I just had lunch with clients that we've helped a couple of times buy and sell. They just recently moved out of state 2 years ago with us, had a fantastic lunch with them. And their home buying process for where they moved to them was much simpler than it was here in California. And it wasn't because of the agent, it was because of the need for so much more disclosure here in the state of California as opposed to where they moved. So just a very, very different experience, right? So let's get into this, right? I was reviewing the internet, looking at the stats, going like, what are people thinking about? And this really stood out to me, right? As I looked at this, what do we do in an unstable real estate market? Like, what makes best sense for us in that market? How do we make sense of it? It's just like, oh, I don't know. I don't know what to do. Well, let me tell you this. I've already showed you home prices are going to continue to adjust, right? They say in this market that home prices are likely to decrease. That is likely. I would like to say that it's adjusting. It's adjusting to the new norm of what is expected in the California area, right? It's where we were supposed to be. Like, that's one of the reasons why I go back and I go, okay, well, what did we look like in Laverne pre-COVID? Will we get back there? I don't think we're going to get back to where we were pre-COVID because we would have had some normal inflation, right? But then we had this crazy, crazy thing that happened. So now what do we have happening? We have pricing decreasing. It is decreasing, right? What do we have? I'm looking here for the stats. Closed volume in Laverne, California. Oh my goodness. We have dropped dramatically. So of January of 2024, we've sold 70 million worth of real estate, right? Whereas in July of 2023, it was 144 million. Like, whew, big difference. Month supply of real estate right now, we've still only got a month and a half of inventory in Laverne, California. A month and a half, that's it. Where in June of 2019, we had 3.5 months supply. And I'm going to remind you, let's go to monthly. Let's do the last 5 years, right? A balanced market is 6 months worth of inventory. We're not even near that. We've only got a month and 3 days worth of inventory in Laverne, California right now, which means that real estate is still selling now. Today, it's selling at 99.1% of the list price, the original price. So list price is, you look at Zillow and you go, oh, it was listed at $899,000. That means that it sold for between $890,000 to $899,000. It sold right in there because everything's selling almost right within the list price in Laverne, California right now, right? So yes, we are seeing that pricing is decreasing. I'd like to say adjusting to what our new norm is. And so what you want to do as a home seller to protect your value is make sure you price correct in the very beginning of the transaction. Trust your agent to make the recommendation on correct pricing. You cannot afford to price high now in this market. It just is not going to happen because everything is so expensive, right? And pricing is shifting quite a bit because everything is so expensive. Interest rates are hovering around 6% right now. People are having to spend a lot more money to buy something these days. For example, I just got a client who got pre-approved. The lender sent out the pre-approval letter. We're like, woohoo, so excited for you. And then I said, your payment's going to be about $4,000 a month. And they're like, oh, hold on. I'm only paying $3,000 a month where I'm renting right now. So, is buying a home worth that extra $1,000? Of course it is. Can they afford it is the other question, right? Affordability is our biggest challenge right now. Affordability is impacting us greatly as people are moving forward in making decisions on whether or not they actually want to buy real estate. There is, as we said last week in the previous recording, people want to own their own home, especially first-time homebuyers. They still believe in it. They want to make that happen. And can they afford it is the big question. They got approved for it. Approved for it and afford it are two different things. And that just comes back to each individual family and deciding what they feel comfortable with in spending. Doesn't matter how much money you have in the bank. Doesn't matter if you have a little or a lot. Ultimately, people will only spend what they're most comfortable with. And that is how they make the decision on whether or not they move forward or not. Right? So the market is definitely shifting, right? It is a seller's market because we only have 1.3 days worth of inventory on the market. Let's look at Arcadia again, our other example, and let's see, what does Arcadia have for inventory on the market? Let's see. So, okay, month supply. Ooh, Arcadia City has 2.5 months worth of inventory on the market. 2.5 months. Whereas Laverne only had a month and 3 days. Wow, that's quite a difference, isn't it? So, what do you need to do to maintain the value of your home during this turbulent time in real estate? We're like, do I sell? I don't know. The interest rate is high and I need to move. I really need to downsize. I need to get into a single story. Or I need to get the heck out of here. So many people are leaving the state still to this day. They're leaving. Like, what do I do? What do I do? What do I do? Well, you sit down and have a conversation with the family first. And then you sit down and you bring in the real estate professional, not only your real estate professional, but I'm going to highly encourage you to talk with your wealth or financial advisor and your CPA, your tax accountant. Have that conversation with all three professional parties to see what is the best thing for me to do financially. What makes sense? And then you come back and you go, okay, how do I maintain the value of my home during this time? What should I focus on? Maintenance and upkeep is always number one. Always, always number one, right? Maintenance and upkeep is something that it entails the water heater, it entails the roof, the grounds, the all of the plumbing, everything that's in the property, the exterior of the property. Be a great time to have a termite inspector out. Be a great time to have a painter come out and freshen up the house. Maintenance and upkeep. Deferred maintenance. People tend to they buy a home and then they don't do any work to it. And then what ends up happening? The wood deteriorates, it rots. The water heater breaks down, the air conditioner breaks down, the plumbing doesn't function like it used to. These are all things that, if taken care of over time, if you do one investment a year or two investments a year during the time that you own it, or you're setting money aside so that you can do these improvements, they don't break the bank. I mean, on one of my rental properties, the water heater just went out. So we had to put a new water heater in, and that was a little bit of money. It wasn't easy. It wasn't quick. I think it was a day and a half project too, just because when we pulled the water heater out, we also wanted to go ahead and refurbish the entire wall and support area of where the water heater was in the garage. So we wanted that to be fresh and clean and updated as well. So you want to make sure that you're doing that kind of general upkeep on your properties, right? And then there's upgrades. So I'm not going to tell you to upgrade your home as soon as you go on the market or even right before you go on the market. I'm going to tell you, hey, if you're going to update that bathroom, do it sooner than later. Do it when you can afford it. Do it when you can cash flow it. And don't wait to do it right before you put it on the market. It just doesn't make great sense. You're not going to get the total complete return on investment. Yes, it'll look better and yes, it'll sell for more, but you probably didn't get a penny for penny back. And you didn't get any personal use enjoyment over it. So get some personal use out of it as well. Right? Don't live in this dumpy house all this time and then, oh my gosh, okay, I'm going to sell it. So a year before you sell it, you do all these beautiful upgrades just because you're like, I want to sell it for more, put it on the market. And yes, you do sell it for more than what you anticipated, but you won't get that penny for penny, dollar for dollar return on investment because you just didn't get enough time or use out of it. So you want to make sure you do that. And you go, okay, but well, all those flippers do it. The flippers, yeah, they do it. And they will themselves tell you they're not going to get it all back. They generally get what they anticipated back, and it sells a little easier. Makes the process a lot better. I am a buy and hold kind of girl, so I'm going to go from that perspective as well. I have found the nicer my properties are, the condition that they're in, the uh, uh, let's say I just get a tenant who really appreciates the property and takes very good care of the property. And it's the same thing for a family that's going to buy a property, right? And you don't want to over improve. You over improve for a neighborhood, and well, you just did exactly what you said. You over improved, which means you're not going to make back any money because it's too much. You did too much. You went too big. Just happens. It happens. So in this changing, unstable 2024 real estate market, as you're looking at things and going, should I buy? Should I sell? Should I this? Should I that? Just schedule an appointment with your professionals that you trust and your family. Sit down and have a few appointments around this. Talk with your financial and wealth advisor. Talk with your CPA. Talk with your realtor, right? Talk with your loan officer. And of course, talk with your family and put a plan in action. Maybe you're not buying this year. Maybe you're buying next year. Maybe you're buying this year. Maybe you're selling this year and not going to buy until the following year, right? I loved what my client that I just finished meeting with for lunch, I loved what she said and we're going to have her on a future, we're going to have them on a future podcast. But one of the things she said as she sold her property here in California and moved to Minnesota, California, she said it was okay for us to sell our house here and rent for a year in Minnesota so we could figure out what would work best for us in a year. She thought it was one of the best things we ever did. She didn't say it was the funnest. It was one of the best things she ever did, though, because it gave her and him time to figure out where they wanted to be. And that is what I say to every buyer and seller. Don't put yourself under the gun pressure, right? Real estate is uncertain, even in a market that is going up, or coming down, and coming down, or a stable market. Real estate is always unsettling and uncertain and unexpected and uncomfortable. And in the end, it is so worth it once you make the move. So schedule that appointment with the professionals to help you make the best decision for you and your family.